Hello, I'm John Robinson and this is Samples to Symphonies. Music connects people. It taps into instincts and emotions we have in common. Through a shared experience, it leads us somewhere we can't describe in words, but because we feel it, we trust we're there together. This video celebrates human connection through music. It demonstrates the power of participation, of harmony, of the skill of musicians, and it's a tribute to three great British composers. Emotion in music is a complicated thing. Lots been written by psychologists, anthropologists, musicians themselves. Composers fashion musical designs that capture, channel and release emotion. When we perform their work, for example when we use samples to play back from a score, we aim to uncover and enhance. To use a visual metaphor, we're hoping to illuminate the composer's design to highlight a facet that perhaps has never been seen so clearly before, so the emotion shines brighter. So we need to understand the composer's intentions, the idioms of great instrumentalists, and even the musical instincts of humans in general. We can learn from those whose gift is to connect people through music. Jacob Collier interacts with his audience in a way that is emotional, memorable, and some would say magical. Even when he's arranging for orchestra on the fly, he uses the opportunity to bring in the audience, and they connect. But that's nothing compared with his ability to move an audience choir in harmony. Composer David Bruce has a wonderful YouTube video on how Jacob does what he does. David puts the audience choir in context, explains what's going on musically, suggests why that is so gripping and emotional for the participants, and shows how Jacob's skill and ambition have developed. There's a link in the description below. Do go and take a look. David points out the audience choir don't know what's going to happen next, and that makes it different from singing in church, for example. But here's the thing. The big difference between what Jacob does and what people typically experience in church is part singing. Today, almost anyone who's joined in a traditional hymn has taken the melody line. In an earlier age, at least in music mad movements like Methodism, all four parts were sung by the congregation. So Jacob has three things going on. Crowd singing, which at the very least has the communality of a football chant, not knowing what will happen next, which is exciting and rests on Jacob's improvisational skill, but between those two, the real magic in the sandwich is harmony. The performers in Jacob's choir change pitch stepwise, the simplest, you might say most boring kind of voice leading, and yet the experience is electrifying. The sound of the instant choir in their ears turns the prosaic individual lines into a musical communion. This is harmony's power. True, melody has power, rhythm has power, but in harmony, the overtones of individual instruments, whether they be voices or instruments of the orchestra, interact with the placement of notes. So it's here the differences in timbre rub against each other and create a deep sense of interaction, of humanness. It's also here that changes in dynamics can be really effective. But we haven't finished with Jacob Collier yet. Here's a snippet of a video he did for Wired, improvising piano arrangements for Londonderry Air, reflecting different emotions. The emotions become increasingly abstract. Later ones include guilt and forgiveness, and Jacob is responding spontaneously to prompts, so not every interpretation lands perfectly, but many are convincing. And the important thing is that when we're talking about emotion in music, the sense of oneness and purpose of the audience choir is just one pole. There are many other emotions and ways music can connect. Gustav Holst wrote and spoke of human connection through music. Here's how biographer Michael Short summarises. The substance of Holst's message was the expression of emotion, which he declared to be the fundamental necessity in all art. This emotion was not egotistical self-expression, nor aimless wallowing in sentimentality, but the expression of a communality of feeling and experience. Holst often wrote for voices. Some of his greatest music is choral. He knew the power of singing together in parts, yet his best known work, The Planet Suite, is orchestral with voices in just one of 7 movements. But the planets do demonstrate how Holst put his view of music and emotion into practice. As we saw with Jacob Collier, music can represent complicated, even ambiguous emotions. In The Planets, Mars, the bringer of war, is known for depicting the brutality of mechanized carnage, but there are passages of heroism and of waiting in dread. Jupiter is the bringer of jollity, with shades from exuberance to contentment, and from drunkenness to a brief hint of something ominous and spooky under the surface. How complex are the emotions of these 7 mood pictures? Well, I'm going to do a series on the planets, starting with Jupiter, where I hope to find out. See you there.